Hey everyone, how are you doing today? Do me a favor before we get started. I need you to hit this like button. If you're not a subscriber, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and notification bell next to it so that you will not miss an episode. Also, check me out on IG, elevation_mentor. So, we're going to talk about real estate, and this is for beginners. Keep in mind, if you do not currently own a home, you are not a second class citizen. However, just be thinking into the future as far as buying property and buying a portfolio of properties. Okay, so as far as real estate goes, some people choose to do real estate, other people don't. So people have their own paths. So I'm just going to talk about real estate for beginners. So what's happening in real estate is essentially the tenant is paying off your mortgage. So you have the tenant inside of your property, they're paying rent, and what essentially is happening is they are paying off that mortgage of the entire property. So your property is appraising in value depending on what area you buy in. You have to make sure that you're buying in an appreciating area. And you can do that by checking out certain websites and to see what is the value of the home. What was the value of the home last year? What about the year before that? And see if it's going up. So make sure you're buying in an appreciating area. So the property is appreciating in value. So say for instance, you make a down payment on a property. It appreciates 3 to 5% every year. That's on average. Now, some strange things have been happening during the pandemic. It's been a lot more than 3 to 5%. Like some properties have gone up like 20% in that one year. So while inflation is happening for everybody else is talking about high gas prices, high grocery prices. People that own property have seen their value shoot up. So this inflation is making property owners rich. That's what inflation is doing for people who own property. But in general, it goes up 3 to 5% per year. So say, for example, you have $100,000 property. So you buy a property for $100,000 and it goes up 3 to 5% every year. So this is how people become rich. One way, one path that people become rich. So it appreciates by 3 to 5% every year. So let's say we have a $100,000 property and it's going to appreciate, it's 3 to 5% every year, but let's say it's going to do 4% for this example. So you buy a $100,000 property. Your down payment, you paid 3.5% of this to get into the property. So 3.5% to get in. Also closing costs added to that. So you're in this property. So the following year it increases by 4%. Year one. Year two. Year three. Year four. Year five. Year six. Seven. 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, so this is a $100,000 house, 30 years after you bought it. 4% increase every year. Now keep in mind that some houses appreciate a lot faster than that. So I did mention the 20% with COVID, right? Some people saw a 20% increase in 1 year. But this is the basics of what is happening. You bought it for 100,000, but now you have a $300,000 asset. Um, and keep in mind that it does appreciate faster than that. So it's more than 4%. All right, but that is the gist. That's the gist of how people obtain wealth, at least one way of obtaining wealth. So there is this um, debate on whether should you do real estate, should you do stocks. So when it comes to real estate, you are getting 4% of $100,000 every year. When it comes to stocks, the average number is 10%. At least that's what they say, the average is 10%. So when you look at the debate between real estate and stocks, the common debate is that real estate is going to get you there faster because you are using this $100,000 property and from that starting point versus a smaller starting point. Say, for example, a starting point of 10,000. So with this house, the starting point is $100,000 because they're going off of the property, not the cash that you put into the property. So the starting point is $100,000, and that's appreciating. Well, with stocks, there's a lower starting point. The starting point may be 10,000, for example, and you get 10% return on that every year. So based on that argument, the general consensus is that real estate is going to get you there faster. However, when it comes to stocks, it's not always only 10%. So the 10% is when you're doing things like the index funds, the ETFs, the mutual funds. That's where the 10% is. However, there are stocks doing 100%, 200%, 457%. So when it comes to the argument between real estate or stocks, the answer is both. All right. So when it comes to real estate, what real estate is doing is protecting you against inflation. Like I said before, while everyone else is concerned about not having enough money, can't afford gas, can't afford to pay their bills, things like that, people who own property are becoming rich off of the inflation because the value of their property is appreciating fast, like as high as 20%. So it protects you against inflation. When it comes to real estate, you want to make sure that you don't get any bad tenants, and you do that by screening tenants carefully, doing background checks, credit checks, um, checks for evictions, things like that. You also want to make sure that you limit vacancies if possible. One of the best ways to limit vacancies is going for multifamily properties instead of single properties. So if one person leaves, say for example, you have a 3 unit. If one person leaves, you still have two people there paying the rent. So that's one of the best ways to protect yourself against vacancies. The other way is Section 8 tenants. Section 8 tenants are in high demand. There will be low vacancies with that. Also, when it comes to real estate, there are unexpected repairs. So you do have to have some kind of reserves. Um, Say, for example, something happens like the furnace goes out. So having reserves. Um, Having an attorney is important. In deciding to create an LLC, having insurance is important. In the event that you would get sued, that insurance is going to cover that. Making sure that you screen for good tenants. Making sure that you follow the security deposit rules of your state. Each state, they have different laws when it comes to security deposits. So making sure that you follow the rules of the security deposit for that specific state. And it's important to work on building good credit. Building that is important. Reason being is that the better your credit, the less interest they're going to charge you. So when your credit is not so good, they're charging you more money. If your credit is not so good, you're going to pay more money for a down payment versus if your credit is good. If your credit is good, really high, they're going to charge you a lower down payment. And that's the way the system works. The other thing about real estate is that it is very good when it comes to taxes, tax time. There's a lot of things that you can deduct when it comes to tax time. You can deduct things like your mortgage interest, property taxes, HOA, insurance, repairs, maintenance. So it's very good when it comes to deducting taxes. All right. So that's real estate in a nutshell. Do me a favor before you leave. If you got any value from this video, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button and notification bell next to it so that you will not missed an episode, also check out my hat collection that I have below in the pinned link. Feel free to leave your comments. Also, if you're interested in being in a real estate community where you are buying property together, put it in the comments, the word group, and let me know if you're interested in a real estate group. All right. Thank you for watching, everyone. Don't forget, on your way out, hit that like button. All right. Have a good one.